Hey everybody, it's Fridays with Sue and Steph, and a gloomy gray day in Cleveland, really gloomy, but better than the snow we had, because
Yeah.
something about March or May, like you just don't want snow
No.
and icy.
You know
One
when
day
we
was,
want it less and get it is April.
yeah, yeah, yep. Okay, so today we're going to talk about like the memories of good times, like that, maybe when you're in the throes of it, it's hard to see all the joy, but as soon as we agreed on this topic, I like couldn't stop writing all the things that I thought were joyful. And some of them I think I actually knew were joyful at the time. Like, did you feel that way, Steph?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Like some of them were moments. The problem is, if half of it was joyful and half of it was horrible, which one do you remember more
Don't
clearly,
make me say it.
Yeah, well, like COVID, all I ever say now is how much we all hated each other, but we had so much fun
Yeah.
at the beginning. Like we were really creative. I mean, not fun that COVID was happening, but fun as a family all getting back together in one house.
Yeah.
And then we had this deep, deep dive of not fun, but then we ended pretty good too. But I don't know why the memory is so surrounded by not fun. So today we're going to focus on the fun and the joyful.
Yeah.
So we probably have the same things, but well, the first thing I'm going to start with is the same story as COVID. So I've written articles about one article in particular about how Thanksgiving sucked one year. But Thanksgiving typically in my house is so joyful. Like the kids all want to come home. The traditions are set in stone. They cannot be changed.
Yeah.
And it is really like a moment of Thanksgiving. Now, it may wrap around some moments that are the worst ever, but we all think very fondly of Thanksgiving together as a family. How about you?
Oh yeah. Same. Yeah. And I would say, and probably the same holiday. There's something, they look it's the one that epitomizes the comforts of home.
Yeah, yeah. And we do all those things. Like we go around the table and say, what are you grateful
Yeah.
for? And Jessica, thank you for putting in my article that I said, that's the article where I say how horrible it was, but I didn't write about how beautiful it was also. And for anyone who's listening, we would love for you to drop in the comments what those moments that you reflect on, that you're like, wow, that was like something to just take with me on a rainy day. Okay, so do you have a beyond Thanksgiving? What's your next
I
one?
do. So I did like a kid by kid
Uh-huh.
is how I did mine. So I'll start with, and they all repeat themselves. So there's no one specific episode or event. So okay, so one of them is like one of our kids who will never admit that it's hard to get started on something. Do you need help? No, no, I got it. I got it. Um, and kind of a defensive about it. Like, no, why would I need that? Right.
Yeah.
But whenever it's offered, or we're like, oh, you know what, you could try this, or you could start here, and so reluctant and like not even mean, just seems angry about the situation, right? But always 100% of the time, usually an hour later, thank you so much for that. That was
Wow.
really helpful.
Yeah. So as a category, thank you is amazing. Like a
Yeah.
thank you from a kid is amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so what,
painful. Wait, I want to be really clear with people listening. So painful and ungratifying leading up to it. So I don't want to
yeah, no
I don't want
sugarcoating.
to paint the picture of,
No sugarcoating.
right? It is
Yeah.
literally holding my tongue and thinking, why am I doing this? Why? This is ridiculous. This is the
Right.
worst thing ever. So I just want to be really clear about the emotions on that one.
Yeah. Mine in that same vein was a kid. Recently helped a kid with some writing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and and that was hell. The
Mm-hmm.
process was hell, but then there was a present at the end, a thank you
Mm-hmm.
present, and that was lovely.
Mm-hmm.
But the process was hell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my kid one is when I get to experience their moment of joy. Like one of my kids, oh, same thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's go on.
And so I love it, especially when I didn't know that about them. So one of my
Mhm.
kids watching a sunset on the beach with that kid, I knew how much nature mattered to that kid and how much that moment like mattered, that somehow watching the sunset and seeing the sunrise and taking a run and going on a hike, you see a different child. Like you just see a kid who is in their element and so happy with life. That to me, it's like, I didn't even know it one time. Like the first time where I went like, oh my God, that's who this kid is. I was like, that's a gift. That's amazing that I got to experience that.
So I have literally the identical one. Probably a different place, but the
Yeah.
identical one. Yeah, we're on a lake up in Canada, and it was just Todd and I and that kid and the dog, and watching just the sparkle on the lake, right?
Uh-huh.
How the sun's hitting it, and watching them like I think I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it was a break between like semesters or whatever. You know what I mean? It was like one of those breaks where the kid had been so super stressed and so like was so happy to have the downtime and then to have like this beauty. It's funny. So last night I saw a preview of the new IMAX movie Into Nature's Wild, I think is the name, down at the Science Center. And one of the women who she holds the record for the fastest completion of the Appalachian Trail. And she was telling a story about taking her kid out in nature. And the kid was little. Like, I'm trying to remember if the kid was maybe even in a baby born or just small, right? Toddler or under. And how all of a sudden it's raining and it's like, oh my God, I'm the worst mother ever. Like, I got to get back to the car. And you know what I mean? All like, oh. And then she looks down at the kid and the kid is laughing. And just as the rain is hitting them, and the kid is just experiencing like nature and it's sheer joy. And she's like, oh my God. Like, so not what was going on inside of her and watching this child. So it's like, there is something about nature in our kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Seeing newness in our kids. Like
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that I think about is that there's so much uncertainty in parenting. And I think all of us want the same thing. We want to be good parents to our kids and we want to see our kids thrive,
Mm-hmm.
but we often don't get an indication that we're doing it right. So a thank you and an apology feels like a grade. And I like grades. It feels like a good grade. It feels like I've been given a good grade. So
Mm-hmm.
like, in the middle of COVID, when there was a lot of tension in my house, one kid came in and said, I didn't bring my best self to this experience. And I'm sorry. And I was like, wow, that changes everything for me. Like
Right.
I can let go of
Totally.
any tension at the moment. Yeah. So that was a very good moment. Okay, what's your next
So my
one?
next one is it's a thank you or like a gratitude moment where kids going through a hard time, just a mess. You know what I mean? Like lots of emotions that have been going on. And then the kid says at the end, I know it's been so hard and I'm so appreciative of you. You know, and like
So
their ability to recognize what'd you say?
Yeah. It's the grade. You got the grade.
Yeah, got the grade. But it's like that. It's the first, like for me, it's there is self-actualization going on there. Fascinating.
Yeah.
So not only like I think you don't know if there's self-actualization if the person's not saying it. So it could be happening. But the fact that it's happening and they said it out loud,
And you know
you're
it.
like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, my last one is that I had 1 football and 4 musical theater. And they all had moments in those experiences where to be the parent watching them was like, just overflowing with pride. So I miss those so much. They were big part of our lives. Even though I hated football, I loved football.
Right. I only had 3. I did 1 per kid. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if you guys want to add something into the comments afterwards, brag about your kids or your mothering or just
a topic you want us to talk about. We're always looking for topics. Usually right before this.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. This coming Wednesday, we're going to be talking about in Destination College, 8 o'clock Wednesday night Eastern time. And you can still sign up. And if you miss the first two, you will get those replays, so you won't miss anything. This Wednesday, Sylvan has a raffle for a full ACT SAT prep class, which is valued at, I think, like $1,200, something
Yeah,
like
that
that.
sounds right.
And you have to be present to win, but you can still sign up. And Jessica, of course, thank you, Jessica, put the link in the chat if you want to sign up. The topic this Wednesday is test prep and the state of test optional. So we're going to cover a lot of ground, and the two experts are so smart, and you're going to get so much out of that evening. And if you can't attend live, you'll get a replay afterwards.
Yeah, and I'm going to add one thing. If you're here in college and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm already so stressed, all the more reason, because like everything we do, the goal is to give our viewers, listeners, attendees tools and bolster you. So definitely a good series to attend. Great information and bring some calm to the whole process.
Okay, everybody, have a great week. And hopefully you'll experience something in the coming week where you're like, oh, this is the moment I should have talked about. Hopefully for all of us.
Exactly.
Have a good week.